You are Locked On Coogs, your daily podcast on the Houston Cougars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Locked On Cougs host Parker Ainsworth here talking about the transfer portal and Willie Fritz's first real run at the transfer portal as a head coach for, I guess, just over a year at this point of the Houston Cougars. We opened up the show in the first segment talking about Connor Weigman and what that could bring to Houston, how he is a dynamic, big deal as a quarterback that really does have connections to the university. And I feel like if we're going to talk about other portal chatter, you got to keep an eye on for Houston. The first thing you got to look at is, well, what if Connor Weigman brings other key Aggies? Now, I'm not a very big Aggie guy. In fact, as far as schools across the state of Texas go, they might be my least favorite, right? But regardless, they've got some dudes that can freaking play, and they're in the transfer portal. And there's reason to believe that if Connor Weigman were to come to Houston, that he might bring one or two of them with him. Now, honestly, I went through and looked at some guys that are from more close to the Houston area in the transfer portal from A&M, guys that would really make an impact, come in and play right away, right? And so, like, when I think about Houston's strong defensive line alumni, guys in the NFL, guys like Ed Oliver, right? I think of, what could A&M have? Well, Malick Sylla is from Katy. I went to Katy High School. He's 6'6", 230, edge rusher, long frame, good extension, good separation as an edge rusher. He'd come with a couple years left of eligibility, and he's in the transfer portal from A&M. You could see if this flood came through, how that could potentially bring him as a pass rusher on over. On the defensive line as well, more interior though, it's hard not to notice. I'm going to try my best with this one. Samu Taumanupepe. Samu, 6'3", 375 pounds. Listen, 6'3", 375. If he comes to Houston, I have to learn to pronounce the name because that's going to be a dominant force on the inside. He just doesn't move backwards. 2023 defensive lineman at a high school. So 2023 at a high school means he's only spent 1 year of eligibility. He's from Atascocita, right? And so big impacts defensive tackle type that could really hold down the nose tackle. You get he and Carlos Allen in the same D line next year. You're not moving. Now, I understand how the defensive line type guys might be waiting to see the defensive line or defensive coordinator is. I also anticipate that being picked fairly soon. I'm not going to give more away on that, but I do think that's going to be fairly soon while they're talking a handful of guys still out there. But the offensive guys, because there is an offensive coordinator, might move more quickly. The big news on the offensive line at A&M was that Cam Dewberry, a 6'4", 320-pound junior interior offensive lineman, think guards. I don't know if he can snap around, think a guard, from Atascocita, was a high school class of 2022 with Connor Weigman. Again, class 2022 with Connor Weigman is also in the transfer portal. He'd be an immediate starter at guard for this team. Immediate. Like walks in day one, probably the best guard, at least from a prospect perspective, going back to his high school stuff, on the roster. He's got a couple years of eligibility left, get to build up those trenches while also having a couple years to work together, right? He and Pancake would be the same class to kind of build some camaraderie and some cohesion in that O-line room. Now, that's not to say that there's no other beef in the transfer portal from A&M either. Akinola Ogunbiyi, 6'4", 350-pound interior offensive lineman from Kempner High School in Sugar Land. He was high school class of 2020. He's got just 1 year left, but it stands to reason that if you were to start a, snowball rolling down the hill of Aggies coming to Houston, he would jump in line as well to have a shot to go win. Obviously, if you win the Big 12, you get into the college football playoff. We're hoping Arizona State does pretty well to help us with potentially adding more teams next year. I say all that to say that you might see some guys with old maroon team issue gear walking around the first couple days on campus, because I feel like at least with a guy like Cam Dewberry, it's hard to imagine that some of these offensive linemen, some of these people from A&M don't want to follow Connor to Houston. They grew up in Houston, from Houston, etc. Right? Now, I say all of that, and I understand that some of these guys require big-time dollar amounts, right? That the NIL is a big part of this, and, it's going to be hard to steal guys that are used to making maybe a few more digits in their paycheck from NIL dollars and stuff like that. I get that part of it. I don't mean to say that's not a part of it, but I also know that Houston tends to pony up for winners, and it's easy to convince people when you're bringing guys with SEC playing experience, when you're bringing guys with high level recruit backgrounds, that's what's going to happen. Now, as far as what happens if Connor Weigman's not the guy, Connor Weigman doesn't come, you don't have the A&M connection that you think you're building. There are other quarterbacks in the portal. Darian Mensah, 6'3", redshirt freshman from Tulane, is getting a lot of ties to Houston nationally. I don't know how realistic that is. I'm being full transparent here. I think a lot of those connections are just people seeing Willie Fritz in Houston, Power 4 football, Power 4 caliber quarterback, and making the crossover. Now, I will say the kid's like, lack of a better phrase, kid hoops when it comes to football. I mean, he hits guys on deep crossers in stride, hits the out routes with some zip on it. I mean, he's really good, Darian Mensah is. 3 years left. My understanding and messaging around some is that he's going to get a big payday, like multiple commas, big payday. And I don't know if Houston's going to go that route with him or not. For what it's worth, he was a redshirt freshman at Tulane, meaning he was redshirted the year with Fritz and Nagel there together. I don't know what that relationship was like. He was redshirted. He didn't really play, obviously. So we'll, I guess, hear more and see more about that. But I could see him going somewhere where he gets a little bit bigger paycheck because he's going to be there for a while, theoretically, right? Similarly, as far as the paycheck goes, Caden Salter, he's from Liberty University. He's from Cedar Hill, up the road in DFW. Was a 4-star kid in the transfer portal, listed 4-star kid in the transfer portal, was not that out of high school, or transformed his game up at Liberty. I'm also seeing reports, and this is more like saying published reports, that he has every reason to expect a paycheck with multiple commas in it coming his way from NIL. And so, if Houston's going to get in the game, they might need to get in that game. If Houston's going to build this up a little bit slower, that might not be the connection. For what it's worth, it does sound like the Weigman thing, while it'd be a large payday for Houston, might be some of a hometown discount. He did the family Houston aspect, right? So I'm not saying he's not going to get anything. He's going to get a lot. For sure, Weigman would. But I think that it's going to be something closer to what Houston's used to paying guys. The guy I'm interested in, though, is a much smaller school guy, present tense. That's Chandler Morris, HP kid up in DFW. It's a suburb, but not a suburb kind of thing from DFW. He's been at Oklahoma, been at TCU, and now been at North Texas. He actually technically had 3 freshman years across his college career with freshman red shirts and injuries and COVID and all that kind of stuff. Finally got to settle in and play at North Texas this past season and really got to play. Did play some at TCU as well. Had a really good last year at North Texas. 3,700 yards, 31 touchdowns, 64% completions in the career. Has just a year left. And I like Chandler Morris's fit here. Because if you don't get Weigman, swing for the fences, obviously. But if you got that 1 year and then you get into Austin Carlisle right after that, you're not getting a guy with 3 and 4 years left that could potentially slow down your ever getting to your high-profile 2025 recruit. And honestly, I think Austin Carlisle is the future of this program. And I'm not saying you don't have to go earn it, but you kind of want to make sure you kind of keep those kinds of mapping out guys in mind if you have your druthers. Obviously, you also need someone to play this year. So if you don't have your druthers, you've got to go get someone that can at least compete to start and make the room compete and better for it. I've talked a lot about guys that are potentially coming into the program. And we'll be spending a lot of time this week talking about guys that are, and probably this month, talking about guys that are potentially coming into the program. However, some guys are leaving the program, I want to make sure we give that its due diligence. But first, I remind you today's show is brought to you by Omaha Steaks, the best Christmas or holiday gift you can get. Nothing delivers comfort and joy quite like the unrivaled quality and taste of Omaha Steaks. It's guaranteed perfection in every single bite. And right now, you can save on the unforgettable gifts with 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, you can score an extra $30 off with promo code COLLEGE. With 5 generations of experience, they consistently deliver the world's best steak experience, and the gifting experts at Omaha Steaks have made it easy to deliver the perfect gift with thoughtfully curated gift packages featuring gourmet favorites from legendary steaks to mouthwatering desserts and more. You can save 50% off site-wide for a limited time at omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners get an extra $30 off with promo code COLLEGE. That's 50% off at OMAHA steaks.com and an extra $30 off with promo code COLLEGE, COLLEGE. Minimum purchase may apply.